Welcome to the InsideTheU live post-game show. We are going to get Gino DiMare in here. Hopefully we get a couple players. Miami falls 5-0 to Notre Dame. It puts that, and Miami has to win on Saturday, and Virginia Tech has to lose. Virginia Tech moves ahead of Miami as they beat Duke 6-1 earlier today. Disappointing result for Miami. Could not get anything going. They only finished with 5 hits. They had the bases loaded there in the 9th. Dominic Patelli strikes out. Miami falls to 38-16 overall, 19-10 in the ACC. Notre Dame improves to 33-12, 16-10 in the ACC. Carson Ligon, losing pitcher, goes 5 innings, gives up 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, drops to 6-4 on the year, 6-5 on the year. He battled through some difficult times early in the game, and it looked like he was settling down, but then he gives up that 2-run homer there in the 5th. Miami goes down 3-0. And for a long time, Miami only was stuck at just the 1 hit. They pick up a couple hits there in the 7th inning. Patelli again, a guy grounds into a double play to end the 7th with a couple on base. They leave runners stranded. Miami leaves 8 on base in this one. But they just didn't have a lot of guys on base until the later innings. A lot of pressure on everything to work out there. So disappointing for Miami. It's not in their control anymore. Again, Virginia Tech wins today, and as you can see on games behind, Miami always had to get to the point where they had to match Virginia Tech on wins in their series. Miami 1-1 against Notre Dame, Virginia Tech 2-0. So obviously Virginia Tech wins tomorrow. They will win the ACC. They will win the Coastal Division, be the number 1 seed. I find it to be very important for Miami to hopefully push it. Win the series against Notre Dame would be big. Notre Dame ranked 14th, Miami 9th, so certainly it would be a good way to end it. Even if they do not win the ACC, I still think winning this series would be big. Miami's not been playing well over the last 4 or 5 ACC series. They dropped to 4-6 in the last 10 ACC games, and they only have 1 series win in the last 4 previous going into this one. So they're looking for just their second one here. You definitely don't want to go in 1-4 in your last 5 ACC series. We will see how it goes. Miami didn't have a lot of hits yesterday, but they were able to get the big one. We're not able to get the big one today. We will go straight to Gino DiMare. If you're new to this, we'll go to DiMare on the Zoom call, ask him some questions. Definitely a big news about Saturday. I just want to mention it's a 1 o'clock game, ACC Network Extra. Miami is not named a starting pitcher. So I will definitely ask Coach about that. I meant to ask him on yesterday's postgame show, but I forgot to do that. Definitely will ask him about that. And I will show you guys some bullpen availability stuff I've been working on. I will get to that. But let's get right into some highlights. I want to show you guys that. And in case you weren't able to see the game, so I want to get that set up for you guys if you just give me a second. But certainly, Notre Dame did get the home runs. They got the big hits today, and they got them early. I felt like that Miami just couldn't match, if they could have just got that first run on the board, and then it felt when they were down 3-0, it just felt like a lot. So here's the highlights.
The fastball, slider, and changeup. Biggest thing for him, though, is that right there. The hit by pitches, the free passes. So that's what these teams are fighting for.
2-2 is blasted to left. And Jack Siska starts the scoring. He unloads off Carson Ligon. Time in his college career. And he lifts this one to left. Gutierrez is back at the wall. Gone! 2-run shot, Jack Brannigan. A wall scraper and a skyscraper. And Notre Dame leads 3-0. For a 2-2 to Lamanna. On the ground left side, Patelli gloves, flips, Gonzalez's turn, it's 2. Big 6-4-3 induced by Ronaldo Gallo. The one gone in the 7th, 0-2. Breaking ball rolled right side. Penny gloves, he flips. Preisner's turn, it's 2. Has arrived with the Jared Miller injury. In the air, well struck left field. Gutierrez back, it's gone. He is, and when it's a short spurt, that deceptiveness plays even more. Romero slices one fair down the line into the corner. Karams off the sidewall, and Max Romero starts the 9th. with a stand-up double. The righty deals. Cut on and missed.
So there we go. We've got the highlights there. I was told Gaby Gutierrez and Ronaldo Gallo are two guys that will be made available to the media. So hopefully we do get those guys. Typically, sometimes we don't get players after a loss, so that would be good. Miami falls 5-0 in this one. Certainly disappointing. Shout out to Matt for always being here. Always appreciate. Great seeing you. If you have any questions, comments, definitely drop below in the chat. Thomas is here, and shout out to AL as well. I'm glad you're showing up for the show. It means a lot to me as we talk about this. As we kind of hold on, usually it's a few minutes, maybe about 10 minutes before Coach shows up, before the interview starts. So hopefully we're able to get that. I'm curious about his message to the team. They had a disappointing game earlier this week against Florida Gulf Coast. I was curious about kind of the message. The team bounced back. They got the win on Thursday there, 6-4 over Notre Dame. I thought that was a big one. But Miami loses today. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. Certainly not the direction they want to go in. And it's hard to feel real confident with this team with the way they've been playing of late. Hopefully they can get it going, have a big day on Saturday. I mentioned Miami has not named their starting pitcher. Neither has Notre Dame. So I wonder if that's part of why Miami chose not to. But obviously, Alejandro Rosario has struggled. So we will see if he gets that start. He has started the last 8 regular season or the series finales. So we will see if he gets that and continues to stay in there, as clearly he's been up and down most of this season. We're getting ready to get started here on the Zoom. We should be getting started. It looks like it just opened up here.
Recording in progress.
Gallo, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We have Miami Hurricanes right-handed pitcher Ronaldo Gallo. If you have a question for Ronaldo, please use the hand raise function. We'll start with Christopher Stock from InsideTheU. Chris?
Ronaldo, just curious, kind of big picture with where you guys are at. Obviously disappointing for this, Virginia Tech. I'm just curious, how do you take this loss with everything you guys are playing for going into tomorrow?
I mean, we're not really playing for an ACC regular season championship or an AC title. I mean, our main focus right now is to win the series. And like Gino always emphasizes, man, we go one game at a time, and that's really what our main focus is. So who cares what the Virginia Tech score is, or they're going to be tied with us at the number 1 seed? Doesn't really matter. We got to focus up on winning this series.
I haven't gotten a chance to talk to you. Just these last couple of months for you, you've certainly been pitching well. Is there something that you've been doing, maybe kind of key for you personally, to be one of these main guys? And also, Ronaldo, do you feel like 28 pitches tonight? I think would you feel good for tomorrow if they ask you?
Lately, I mean, I've just been pitching with a lot of confidence. I mean, if a guy we've got hopped on as the pitching staff from the beginning. I mean, if one guy doesn't get it done, the next guy that's called on has to get the job done, and that's honestly what we've been doing, and it's been carrying, and that's the way it is. And on tomorrow, when it gets here, it gets here. If they call my number, then I gotta go.
Are there any other questions for Ronaldo?
Yeah, I'll jump in again, Josh.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Ronaldo, they're in the 6th inning. You give up the double, but you worked yourself out of it. What was kind of the key for you to not allow a run, particularly there, like I said, that leadoff double?
Honestly, we're just trying to get out one guy at a time, taking care, making sure you're executing your pitches, and that's what my main focus was, and that's what it's going to be. I mean, I got to go in there, and I'm going to give up hits. It's baseball. I mean, you're going to give up hits, you're going to give up runs, but your main thing is stay focused and stay locked in and try and get it out and minimize.
I'm curious with Notre Dame, what you guys have a couple games obviously against them now, what you've learned about their lineup, about their hitters, that you can use in this final game as a pitching staff as a whole.
I mean, they're aggressive. They're an aggressive offensive team, and they got a pretty good staff. But our main focus is as a staff and as a team is to get that leadoff guy out. I mean, when you get a leadoff guy out, it's pretty much an inning killer and your momentum slows down. But when a guy gets on to start off a game or to start off an inning, they got all the momentum in the world to keep it going.
Are there any other questions for Ronaldo? Okay, Ronaldo, thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Gabby, can you hear us?
Yeah.
The Miami Hurricanes freshman outfielder Gaby Gutierrez. We'll start with Christopher Stock from InsideTheU. Chris.
Hey, Gabby, just as a lineup as a whole, Austin Temple, their pitcher, he seemed to keep you guys out of rhythm. What was he kind of doing? What made it hard for you guys to get hits against him?
I mean, I'm guessing his arm angle, the way he threw the ball out, and his off speed, his slider curveball, the way he threw it was getting our hitters off a bit.
And then if you could just kind of speak on where you guys are at right now. Obviously disappointed in the loss, but just big picture, kind of, looking ahead to tomorrow and kind of just the mood of the team, if you could speak on that.
I mean, yeah, like Gino said, we flipped the page already. It already happened, and tomorrow is the biggest game of the year.
I'm curious, you being a freshman, being a part of this series, the couple games here, you got to play in the Florida State, these ones down the stretch. What's kind of the key for you as a freshman to find yourself to get success in these kind of, these high intensity series right now?
Just keeping it simple, not really thinking about that. Just keeping it simple and just trying to do my best out there.
You're able to get a couple hits. How important was that after what you were able to do yesterday? Obviously, but that game's over, but how good was it to kind of get results again today for you personally?
Like I said before, it's really not about our results. It's whatever helps out the team. I mean, I got on base, but we really couldn't capitalize with it.
Our next question for Gabby comes from Luke Cheney of the Miami Hurricane. Luke.
Hey, Gabby, as Chris mentioned, you had the 2 home runs last night. You had 2 hits today. Can you talk about how important this hot streak is for you leading into postseason play?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you there at the end.
I said, can you talk a little bit about how important it is for you to have this type of a hot streak leading into postseason play?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, whatever helps with the team and whatever helps the team is the best. So I'm glad I'm getting hot now.
Are there any other questions for Gabby? Gabby, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Gino, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We have Miami Hurricanes head coach Gino DiMare. Gino, if you can start with an opening statement, and then we'll go into questions.
Well, it's the Notre Dame's a good team, a very good pitching staff, and the guy that started today, it's kind of frustrating because he was a guy that, we seemed to get a lot of 3-2 counts, which was great. I thought in favor of us, especially early in the game, and we just couldn't capitalize on those counts. We gave some taxing at bats. We had his pitch count up a little bit there for a little while, but he's kind of an odd guy. Just a lot of balls all over the place. Got a good breaking ball, good curve ball, and slider, and mixes his pitches, and just kind of one of those guys that's kind of frustrating. And at the end of the day, you're battling trying to get runs, and they did a good job, and of course brought in the guys. Their bullpen was good too as well, and we had a chance there at the end. We get Dominic on base, and we bring the tying run to the plate, believe it or not, after all that. But we got to turn the page. I mean, Notre Dame's a good team. And to be able to say to sweep a team like that would be, that's a tough task. Right now, we got to concentrate on winning the series, and we have a chance to do that tomorrow.
We'll start off with Christopher Stock from InsideTheU. Chris.
Hey, Coach, what'd you make of Carson's outing? Obviously early, then kind of got in, settled down. Just overall his outing, what'd you make of it?
Yeah, I thought he threw good. Obviously the home run there. It's kind of a flip script from last night. They hit the home runs, and we didn't. They got some balls up in near to left field. The ball was carrying that way. Wasn't carrying the right. It was carrying that way. And but I thought he threw good. Just gave up, a few pitches here and there that I'm sure he wishes he had back early on. Probably was throwing a little bit more to his arm side. Maybe wasn't getting out, in front of him as much, whether it was the fastball or break. Like right out of the gate, the first pit hitter, I think he hits, right? And it's supposed to be a fastball away, and he throws it running in on a righty. That's not a good sign. So like to see him right out of the gate be, sharp and on point. If I had to say anything, and then I think I heard Ronnie say, we got to get the leadoff hitter a little bit more consistently. We haven't done that lately enough to be successful as a pitching staff. We've got to do a better job of getting the leadoff guy.
And I was curious about, Ronnie kind of mentioned it about tomorrow. It's out of your hands at this point. You kind of have to, Virginia Tech obviously has to lose. You guys have to win. Take that away. I mean, just the importance for you guys to win the series down the stretch, to kind of handle your business at this point. How important is that, especially the way the last few ACC series have gone for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, you want to play good baseball, and you want to, obviously, winning a series would be a big confidence booster, especially a team like Notre Dame that's highly ranked and all the RPI and all that stuff. And so I'm sure it can only benefit us winning the series in so many ways, whether we're the number 1 seed or the number 3 seed in the Coastal. You're right. It's out of our hands now. But I told the guys we're still in a very good place. My goodness, from where we've come the beginning of the season to where we're at right now, I would say we've done a pretty dang good job, and we're in a great place, great opportunity to win this series and put ourselves in a very good position going into the ACC tournament.
And do you have a starting pitcher for tomorrow? I just saw in the game notes it was to be determined.
It is. I'm not announcing it until I hear who they're throwing.
Was that the plan all along? Because I saw they also had to be determined. Was that the reason behind all that, or was it with the way Alejandro's been pitching? We've talked about him, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I'm holding off until I hear from them. They're the ones who said TBA, so that's why I'm in the same boat.
Are there any other questions for Gino? Gino, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Record.
So you heard Coach talk there. That was my initial impression about the TBA. I thought that initially, when they did that. So we will see who will start. We will see what they decide to do. And certainly, Coach has mentioned he's had a lot of confidence in Alejandro Rosario. Last year, Rosario pitched really well in the ACC tournament and the NCAA tournament. So I'm sure Coach is hoping that they can get that out of him. I want to get into some. I want to get back into their comments here, but I just think everything looking ahead, that's where we're at right now. So Miami cannot win the ACC title unless Virginia Tech loses tomorrow against Duke. They've won both games so far in their series, and Miami has to beat Notre Dame. And like I asked Coach, look, it's out of their hands just how important it is at this point to feel like, they did everything they could in terms of tomorrow's game. Obviously, they did not handle their business today, but we will see. It's tough, like Coach said, it's tough to sweep an opponent like Notre Dame. You looked at the schedule going into it. It felt like that's what it might take because Duke had been struggling, and Duke was officially out of the race before they played their game today in terms of making the ACC tournament. So they did not have anything to play for. So I want to look at the bullpen here. I want to show you guys this real quick, and we could talk about it. I definitely want to get back into this game. But this is just the bullpen tracker I put together in terms of pitches thrown by each day over the last few days, just to see, who will be available for Miami on Saturday's game. Again, a 1:00 game. So it's an earlier, with that night day. Taking a look at it, and I asked Ronaldo today if he felt like he could go tomorrow. And he said, yeah, if they need me to. So we will see if Dubberly and Gallo would actually get out there. You saw Walters did not pitch tonight, but Gage Zeal, 2 of the last 4 days. Miami did not have a game on the 18th, and they used a lot of guys there against Florida Gulf Coast there on the 17th. So the kind of a rule of thumb that the coaches have had, since I've kind of been paying attention to this kind of stuff, they don't like to throw guys 3 days in a row. Obviously, none of these guys will play into that. So I would assume everybody's going to essentially be pretty much available. Although I think the Ronaldo Gallo thing today with throwing that many pitches, I think that they would go away from them tomorrow. I don't think that they would be available unless it was an extra inning type thing. And then McFarland's an interesting one, throwing 34 pitches there. In Thursday's game, he gets the day off today. If he feels good, he'll be out there. Certainly a big guy for their bullpen. So, and Walters, certainly he could go a couple innings if they want to do that. I did see Ray Schlesinger was warming up today. He didn't get in the game, but he was warming up, a lefty there. And they've used him in some lefty matchup stuff, so maybe they would use him as he's not been used in this series. But other than that, pretty much the majority of their guys. Alejandro Torres is a guy that's pitched a lot. He's not been in this series yet. Same way with Anthony Arguelles, and I think both of those guys could feature tomorrow, depending on what they do with the starter. If I were to guess, I don't have any reason to believe it'd be any different. I assume coach is going to stick with Rosario there, but we will certainly see what they do. At this point in the season, these are kind of your guys, so we will see what they do. Want to look a little bit. So just kind of some thoughts on what they had to say. Obviously, Gaby Gutierrez is in the mix now. It's good to see him get a couple hits, not bouncing back, but just following up the 2 home run game he had. So that was good. A good couple hits, a right-handed bat. I think that's good that they have that. And, I expect him to be in there again. One thing that was interesting, Edgardo Villegas, left-handed bat who had been out, missed 4 games, but he did pinch hit there in Thursday's game. He was not in the starting lineup today, and I thought they might go to him because if he was available to pinch hit, although he struck out in the at-bat, he's a left-handed bat. They're facing a right-handed pitcher. I thought maybe he would get in there, but they decided to go a different route, obviously with Gutierrez hitting right-hander, and Levinson's been one of their main guys. But they go with Henry Wallen at DH, and that would have been the spot that if they wanted to put Villegas in the lineup, they could have done that. Wallen's a left-handed hitter. He didn't get anything done in his 2 at-bats. And then Garcia goes in there as Wallen grounds out to short and then flies out to left field in his 2 at-bats. But really, up and down the lineup, nobody did anything. Until later. Miami only had 1 hit through 6 innings. Dorian Gonzalez Jr. and Gaby Gutierrez get singles with 1 out in the 7th. Patelli stays in, faces the left-handed pitcher that they brought in and grounds into a double play. And maybe some people are wondering, well, why not go with the right-handed bat at that point? And at that point, Garcia would have been available. And I know what's interesting is they don't feel like there's not really another true shortstop on the roster. So if you take Patelli out of the game, this team doesn't have a guy that they just automatically feel like can play short. So I think that's part of it. And Patelli's been mostly productive throughout the year. And he's, again, one of their main guys. But that certainly was a big spot in the game. Only down 3-0 at that time. If they could have got a run or certainly 2 right there, that would have been big. They didn't do that. But at that point in the game, you're really hoping for everything to go well. Same way in the 9th, they load the bases there after Gutierrez walks with 2 outs. And it brings up Patelli again, and this time Notre Dame decides to bring in the right-handed pitcher, so not a favorable matchup in terms of righty-lefty, but they go with the righty, and he gets Patelli to strike out, ends the game. Once again, Miami drops to 38-16, 19-10 in the ACC. They've lost 4 of 5. I think the big one tomorrow. I want to look at the ACC scoreboard. We'll take a look at this. We'll look at the standings, and then we'll wrap this thing up. I want to shout out to everybody that's here, that watches this live, and everybody that watches it over again. I will do this. We will see about tomorrow, but hopefully I will definitely let you know. So definitely stay tuned on that. So Virginia Tech, that 6-1 win. Georgia Tech, a big one, putting up 19 runs on 23 hits. Florida State loses again. They lost the first game of that series on a walk-off homer for North Carolina. North Carolina is one of these teams that's doing well of late. They're kind of one of these sneaky teams towards the end. They are 6-2 in their last 8 ACC games. The Tar Heels are. Clemson with the win. They're another team that's kind of lower in the standings, but they've been getting some wins. They're also 6-2 in their last 8 games. And then Virginia, they put it all together. Virginia actually, we talk a lot about Virginia Tech right now. Louisville and Notre Dame are battling for the Atlantic Division title. Virginia's sitting in that 5th spot at this point. But Virginia leads the ACC in run differential in conference games. So I find that to be interesting. For Virginia Tech is a +70, Virginia +74, Miami's 3rd at +49 at this point. If you're looking ahead, but I think all 5 of these teams are very strong. And then Wake Forest, also another team lower in the standings. They've won their last 3. They're only Virginia Tech is they've won their last 3 conference games. Virginia Tech has won their last 4 conference games. So they're the 2 hottest teams in the ACC, 2 longest current winning streaks. Again, Wake Forest gets a win over NC State to pull even in conference play. Wake Forest is a team. Miami's 2nd right now. Actually, they'll drop to 3rd because they're, with whoever wins the Atlantic will get the 2nd seed. So Miami's 3rd, and the way it works in the pool play in the tournament, they would face the 6th seed and the 10th seed. The 6th right now is Florida State, so they would be in the same pool. And then the 10th seed, as it stands, looks to be North Carolina and Georgia Tech are tied for 9th. I'm not sure who won that head-to-head series. So anyways, just looking at that and looking at the standings here. And if you're looking, if you're not sure why Virginia Tech has played less games, they lost a couple games due to weather earlier in the season that were not made up. That's why you see the difference. But Virginia Tech has a better winning percent than Miami. And the only way for Miami to pass Virginia Tech is a win over Notre Dame and then a Duke to beat Virginia Tech. Answer a few questions. We'll wrap this thing up. Yeah, the bullpen tracker. I'm glad you like it. I usually do something like that on the message boards, especially during I always like doing it during Sears, but especially in the postseason. I find that to be very interesting. But be able to put up the graphic, I wanted to do that, and especially now, and certainly plan to have that updated, ready to go, certainly for ACC tournament play, certainly for moving forward. But certainly I wanted to show you guys that today as we look ahead to tomorrow. Let's see. The question, do you think if we win the series and at least win our pool in Charlotte that we make top 8? I feel like we're overrated based on the last 3 weeks. I understand the last 3 weeks, but I think one of the things that's happening is, and this might surprise you, Miami lost the series to Florida State, but actually moved up, according to D1 Baseball national seed projections, from a 5 to a 4. So while you might be obviously we all look at Miami, that's the team that we're paying close attention to. There's other things going on around the country that's why Miami's kind of in this picture. And I do think, I think if they win their pool, and certainly if they win the series, I certainly think Miami will be a top 8. I'm not sure if they have to do both. I think Miami's in a good position. One of the things, even, in terms of seeding, now they need to play better, but they're playing some tough teams right now, particularly Notre Dame is certainly a good team. And the ACC currently has 5 of their teams to be a top 16 team to be a host in the regionals. So there's good teams in the ACC. So certainly these teams they're all in the mix. And I think all 5 of these teams can win the tournament, the ACC tournament. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all works out. I think from a Miami standpoint, in terms of big picture thing, they've got to figure out this starting pitcher stuff. Whoever it is, if it is Rosario, he's got to pitch better. Carson Ligon tonight, he was certainly shaky early. He drills the first batter with the pitch, hit another guy. He almost hit another one, but he gives up a home run. Is on that first home run. I was looking at the pitch. The catcher set up there to the outside, and he throws inside, and the guy hits a home run. So Carson's got to be sharper. I think that's the big thing for Miami is just their starting pitching is just not. It doesn't give you plenty of confidence going into everything. However, the one thing you got to look for, Miami will be playing at home in the regional. That's pretty much sealed up, even if they don't win Tomorrow, even if they go 0-2, I still think that they'll host the regional, most likely. Kind of looking ahead, I don't think they're going to fall that far. Miami still is winning a bunch of games. No team in the ACC has won more ACC games. That even though they're not going to, they're 19-10. Virginia Tech has 18. One of the things someone mentioned on the site was Miami's road record. They don't do well on the road. That was kind of a comment. But not many teams in the ACC do, as you can see. Miami has the second best road record. So Miami's got to play better. I think a big win on Saturday would be great. 1 o'clock start to be determined for both starting pitchers. I'm going to wrap this up. We saw the bullpen tracker. It's interesting to see who will be available for Miami. Andrew Walters certainly would be a key. Yes, and certainly the bats need to light it up as well. The last 2 games in particular, they've only scored 6 runs. Getting shut out today, that's not what they wanted to do, obviously. So, and the thing is, too, they got the 6 runs, but not a lot of hits in yesterday's game. So Miami, I'd like to see them get to double digits, really do well in this one. One thing I do want to mention with Notre Dame, Thursday starter led the ACC in ERA. Tonight's starter led the ACC in opponent's batting average, and both played out well. Miami was able to get to the starter, Bertrand, with 4 earned runs off of him in 6 1/3 last night. So that was a good sign. Was not able to get to Temple. He was certainly doing well. Gaby talked a little bit about his arm slot, a little bit different maybe for the hitters. It's tough asking a hitter why the lineup is struggling when he was able to, get a base hit. So off the guys. So, but he was the only one through 6 innings there to get a hit off Temple. So Temple was really good. Miami's got to be better. Again, look for double-digit hits. Look for things to pile up. Jacob Burke extends his hitting streak to 10 games with a base hit there in the 9th. Kafis is a guy 0 for 3 with the walk. Yo-Yo Morales 0 for 4 with a strikeout. Those 2 guys at the top of the order, they've certainly got to be better than Max Romero. He goes 1 for 4. He does get that double. Goes opposite field, kind of slices one down the left field line, as you saw in the highlights. So shout out to everybody for being here. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Got some other things I'm working on. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of the night. Thanks again, and take care.